Welcome back to the Resilience Pod, the podcast helping you become resilient in our world full of disruptions. I'm your host, Reena Singh. Now, resilience is often described as grit, but what if it's creativity in disguise? Well, today's episode is a fine example of that with my next guest, Andrew Patterson, or most lovingly known as Pato. He is a former international Irish cricketman who has overcome adversity in ways that many of us cannot really truly understand. He was diagnosed with a rare condition impacting movement and balance. However, he did not let that define him and underwent life-changing surgery in the US. And then, to top that off, 12 months later, decided to do a 5K challenge. Andy's story and life isn't just about overcoming obstacles. It's about determination, transformation, of course, pure resilience, but most importantly, the power of never giving up. Welcome, Andy, to the Resilience Pod.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Apologies. I'll speak as slow as I can.
That's fine.
So that people can understand me. And there's not the reason why I'm doing that as well. In the, like you were saying with the sort of diagnosis with the condition's called Hereditary Spastic Paraplegia. Mm-hmm. It affects my muscles. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's affecting my vocal cords, which obviously are a muscle. And I'm going to see every week doing speech therapy sessions to try and combat that. So I'll speak as slow as I can so people can understand.
Yeah, and we can understand you quite clearly. Thank you. Now, Andy, this is just really truly honoured that you're here to be very open and share your journey. And for those of people who don't know about this rare condition, could you tell us a bit more about it and then take us back into a time when you got diagnosed? How did that impact you emotionally and physically as well?
Well, first, in terms of when I got diagnosed and how it all happened, was I was playing a cricket match. It was actually for the MCC. Okay. And run between the wickets, I fell, lost my balance and broke my thumb. Oh. And I just thought it was me getting older. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to my brother was playing the game and a few friends afterwards, and they were like, nah, you looked awful. You need to go and see about that. So I went back and forward probably for a couple of years to different consultants to see what was going on. And I went to a lot of ears, nose and throats clinics and stuff for the balance and things. And it wasn't until March 2013 that I got diagnosed with the condition Hereditary Spastic Paraplegia, which in a nutshell is neurological. And so when you have your signals for your hands to move or to do movement, whatever it is, it wouldn't do that with my legs.
Right.
And so in terms of the operation you talked about that went out to America, that came about sort of serendipitously in terms of one of my friends, ex-colleagues, contacted me out of the blue to see how I was getting on. And as part of that conversation, he said that a friend of his was just back from America, having had an operation on with a condition similar to mine. Mm-hmm. Long story short, it was exactly the same condition.
I see.
So after much financial sort of upheaval, like where my daughter did a few half marathons over consecutive weekends and raised money, and the Professional Cricketers Trust came in and helped me a lot in terms of financially and through different loans and stuff like that. I was able to go out to St. Louis and have the operation, which severed 2/3 of the nerves in my spine that leads your brain. They're responsible for leg movement. And through, hard and painful rehab, I'm trying to create new pathways to ultimately walk unaided again. At the minute, I can get round sort of 20, 30 meters on crutches, albeit pretty slowly. Actually, today, coming to this and going in just to get petrol and stuff like that, not having to worry about being in the wheelchair and going with crutches, so I didn't have to worry about getting in and paying for it and stuff like that, makes a huge difference.
Gosh, I I just can't imagine how that must be. And we're going to kind of unravel your story as we go along in this episode. And look, really just thank you for being so here and being so open about it. You've obviously been through a lot, and we're going to uncover this in a bit more depth as we go along. What's something that people assume about you and your experience that isn't true? Because there's a lot of biases, isn't it? With when we come into this, we're able-bodied, and then we have something that happens to us, and people must have some perception. Have you kind of faced that? What does that look like?
Yeah, people more that I would actually know are a little bit more assuming that I can do a lot more than actually I can. And in terms of, I suppose, the way I am with my condition and stuff, and I think in life and stuff in general, being positive with things makes a big difference for me personally. And when people say that, they actually don't take it kind of on board what type of stuff you're going through and sort of assume that everything's going according to plan, which isn't the case all the time.
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? Andy, I wanted to go back a bit, backtrack to when you were this international cricketer. Life must have looked very different, and then you got diagnosed with HSP. We'll use the acronym here. Your identity must have shifted in that, from being someone who's constantly on the go, playing athlete, to having all these kind of issues. How did you redefine that?
That's a good question. In that I would say I was known before a lot for my sort of physicality and strength and stuff. And going from, it was a natural progression when I stopped playing the cricket that I went into PE teaching, and also did sort of cover model work and stuff like that. And basically I had to sort of redefine or rethink in terms of what actually my makeup was when this happened, when I got diagnosed. And what it has done for me is that I've had to think more in terms of I'm sort of strong enough mentally and the skills that way. Change, not so much changing around how I perceive myself, but more how other people would see me. As I said before, in terms of being seen before with physical strength. Yeah. Being a lot more in terms of the mental side of things.
Yeah, interesting. That must have been something quite hard to adjust to, would you say?
Yeah, it was. But what I would say has helped me a lot is that when I go out and do my talks in different charities, businesses, schools and stuff, basically talking about what you can do going forward. You know, there's things that have happened in your past, and I could have, wallowed in self-pity in terms of why me, etc. But that wasn't going to change my situation where I'm at. Yeah. But what has helped me a lot, and it's actually my wife has helped me a lot in terms of being really sort of positive and saying, right, okay, this is where we are. What can you do? And making me sort of see things that way. That makes such a difference. And that's one of the things I would say, that when people look at things that way, what they actually can do going forward makes a big difference in their life, whether it's in work, whether it's with their friends, family, whatever it is. It has them seeing things a lot better and having a happier life, so to speak.
Very insightful. Very insightful. Now, Andy, I've got a question for you that I've never really asked anyone, because it's one of those questions where it sounds a bit fluffy, but I'm really keen to switch it up as we're in the new studio and do things a bit differently.
I like this studio.
Thank you very much. Very honoured to have you as our second guest. Now, Andy, if resilience, I'm laughing as I say this because I never ask anyone this, had a texture, sound, or even a taste, what would it be for you?
Actually, I would say sound, as in, do you know the artist Macklemore?
Yes.
You know the song, The Ceiling Can't Hold Us? So I use that, listen to that a lot when I was doing this sort of training for the 5K walk and doing my rehab and stuff. So I would associate that with kind of the hard work and stuff that I would put in to see results in the future with what I'm doing. So to sort of answer your question, it would be actually that tune.
I love that. And when we do the promo for this, that will definitely be a background song for that. I like that. That's really nice. It's a very kind of upbeat, motivating song. And I think it's really nice to hear that from a different perspective. And I think I might ask more people that as well, because I really think that's really, it gives a great insight into you as a person, regardless of all the challenges that you may face. Now, Andy, you mentioned quite a lot about family in this journey of yours and the support you've received. And I want to talk about the role of family and community and resilience as a whole, because really this is about refining personal resilience, right? And earlier you alluded to when I mentioned it in my intro, and then you mentioned that you went to the States for your life-changing surgery. Your daughter has been a key driver for that, right?
Yeah.
Ella.
Yeah. She did, unknowing to me that she was actually going to do it. She did 2 half marathons over consecutive weekends and raised over 25 grand. And it was, astounding, honestly, what she did. And as I said before, when she raised that and the professional cricketers trust came in and helped as well, I was then able to get to a stage. There was a lot of stress in terms of, how are we going to get this money? How are we going to raise it to go out and have this operation? Because I was close to a window in terms of touch and go whether I could have it, because I was at the stage where it wouldn't actually benefit me that much.
I see.
If I didn't have it pretty much there and then that summer. So in the summer of 2023. If I mean, there's things you can kind of look back on. I researched everything. I wish I'd have found this a year or so earlier, because I think it would have made even more of a difference than it has now. But, it's the way sort of things are. And I am so thankful that I was able to go out and have that operation, have it done. And sort of alluding back to your question, saying about my daughter, if she hadn't have stepped forward and sort of looked at what she can do to help, basically. And that's actually, to go on a bit of a tangent, that's where I would say that has helped me see as well, in terms of things that you can do going forward to help in situation, any condition, any situation you're in. It's one thing I've learned is that we're all sort of in control of how we respond to any situation you're in. So
I love that.
It doesn't matter whether it's good, bad, and different. You're the person that's in control of how you respond. So I would say actually that the way I've responded, and saying before, not wallowing in self-pity and stuff, that has helped, I think, 100% in terms of the help, support I've had over the last 12 years or so. And that has helped me in terms of going out to get the operation done and being more confident with that happening when you have that support system behind you.
Yeah. I have so many follow-up questions. I'm going to go off script here a little bit, just from what you've been saying, Andy. And the first one really is, you've been saying quite a lot, like, I didn't wallow in the self-pity, kind of why me? How did you adjust your mind frame to do this? Because we all face challenges, right? And then we look at, I'm sitting here in front of you looking at you, and you're like, oh, I didn't wallow in it. I'd like to dig a bit deeper into, like, talk me through your mindset of how at the beginning, and how have you changed that attitude? Like, how?
Well, it's just going to sound quite strange, but I kind of regard myself as being lucky.
Okay.
In that over the last, 20 odd years and through sport and stuff, that I have unknowingly or subconsciously been building up the skill of resilience to be able to cope a hell of a lot better with my condition.
Right.
And be able to see things in a certain way. It's like one of the things I would talk about at my talks would be perspective. So how you would view things, having a positive outlook. It's kind of, I know, like the school I taught at, I couldn't take Saturday sport anymore, which I love doing. But instead of looking at that as a hugely negative situation, I kind of looked at it as an opportunity where I always wanted to go and watch Harlequins play rugby and never got the chance to do it. So I got myself a season ticket and go and watch them play on Saturdays as much as I can.
Yeah.
And actually on that, how we view things and how you look at things, that from when we are born, we are taught, installed with a negative culture. You think about how many times you've had a great day or positive experience and you've told people about it. But compare that to how many times when you've had a bad day or negative experience, you've told people about it.
Yeah, I just love that because it's so true. We do focus on the negatives way, way more. Why do we do that? And like it's very psychological, kind of ingrained in us, isn't it, to do this?
Totally. I think, I mean, this is sort of reverting back to resilience that I'm 100% convinced is a skill. Anyone can gain it, can learn it.
Yeah.
And I would say in 3 ways, the perspective that I've chatted about a bit there, your response that I've chatted about, and having a purpose as well. And those 3 areas are kind of like, I don't know, like a stool with 3 legs. If you take one away, mate, you want to gain all of them to be better at resilience and the unpredictability of life. But if you take one of those legs off the stool and try and sit on it, it's going to basically fall, isn't it? So I would say, if you can actually build those things up as you go along consciously, and this is one of the things I would do on, LinkedIn and Instagram and stuff like that. I do, at the minute, I'm on, I think it's week 20. I would do like a 52 week over a year, building resilience. So little things you can do to get to where you kind of need to be. And I can say that a little bit. It's kind of like, I suppose, my rehab and doing the 5K in a way, that was my ultimate goal, to do that. But I did little things and in line with my physio and consultant and stuff like that, to get to that stage, to be able to get to a stage where I could do that. Because, it's just, teaching people to suck eggs, but it's having little things that make a big difference towards the ultimate goal that you want to do. If you see just that ultimate goal that you want to get to, and that is all you see, it's really hard to actually focus how you're going to get there.
And you say like sucking eggs and the little things, but sometimes it's the simple things that we don't quite appreciate, isn't it? So moving on from that, you've mentioned the 5K and we've talked about it. Let's dig a bit deeper into that. Okay, this is like normal people on a normal day don't want to do a 5K, right? And you are just on another level. So the day you did the 5K, paint me a picture of what was going on, your thought process. The walk took you 8 hours. What did each moment feel like?
As you said, an average running time for people doing it is about 25 minutes. I did it with a 3-wheel walker, and as you just said, it took 8 hours, 43 minutes to do it.
Amazing.
To be honest, the first couple of hours, because you had people doing 5K, 10K and half marathon, was actually not too bad, because you were kind of caught up in the atmosphere of, people cheering people on, loads of people there. But it was the last couple of hours when it was literally just me, a few of my friends and family in the park, and I was like, oh God, this is a nightmare. And it was actually, what kind of got me through is how strong, obviously, your mind can be and get you through things. Because there was a lot of times in the last couple of hours, I was like, I can't go on with this. it was actually my daughter that helped me a lot. And Ella, she said, just get to the next point and keep focusing on that. And then you don't think about things. Mm-hmm. And this is where, going back to what I was saying before with that music, the Macklemore, Ceiling Candles type thing. I had, the headphones you have on, the bone ones that are above your ear so you can hear things and you can hear the music as well.
Right.
I had those on. And so that was playing a lot when I was going through and helped me a lot.
Gosh, shout out to Ella.
Yeah, big time.
Big shout out to, of course, your wife too, but Ella definitely.
Yeah, we actually went out last week. She's skiing instructing out in Alpendorf in Austria.
Okay.
So I went out last week and did sit down skiing.
Love that. Tell me about that.
So it's a skill. I mean, it's obviously I never would have come across it before.
Yeah.
Never would have
didn't even know that was a thing.
But have you done go-karting before?
Yes.
So it's kind of like that. So in terms of the pace and the speed you go at, and honestly, I love doing it. And huge kudos to one of Ella's friends, Lizzie. What's her second name? Punta, I think her second name.
Okay.
She helped me get around the slope a lot, and being up in this was another goal I had, to go up in the mountains and stuff again, because I would ski a lot before and take school ski trips and stuff like that.
See.
And I had this goal. I didn't really tell anyone about it, but in the back of my mind, to get to the mountains again. And it was little goals, little chipping away at things to ultimately get there. And one of the things was actually, this is going to sound a bit strange, was Ella going out there being a ski instructor, so that I knew that actually with her doing that, it would help a lot more and be a lot easier to get the stuff when I was out there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Andy, I didn't even know that was a thing until you told me last week.
No, it's really good.
We'll try and put like a clip on it so the people who are watching us can see.
I did a few, I might have put it on LinkedIn, I think, as well. I did a few videos and stuff like that of just putting little reels and things together.
So on that, you said you've been skiing before you've had this diagnosis. How did it differ? Obviously, it's different because you did sit down skiing, but how did you feel any different? Was it quite emotional? Talk me through what you were feeling.
Yeah, it was in myself a little bit emotional, and speaking on that with emotions, that actually the first few talks I did, I felt my emotions coming through and kind of suppressed them. And not that the talks didn't go well, but I felt a little bit that they weren't as authentic as they could be.
I see.
So, I mean, I've done different podcasts and loads of talks and different things. So if there's no set time or no set reason why emotions come through, but sometimes it does just come up and come through. So, I mean, I just warn you now, if it does happen, that
it's okay.
Don't be feeling awkward in the gap. No. I will just carry on.
This is a safe space. We're in the pod.
The one thing I will say in the being out there and the emotions of actually achieving that was more personal to me. So a lot of people wouldn't have known that was the situation.
Yeah. It was a bigger deal for you than maybe anybody else. I think that is truly remarkable that you would even consider doing something like that, because definitely I would not.
Well,
it sounds very scary.
In terms of the weather and stuff like that, just being there again, it was awesome. Awesome.
No regrets then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
I love that. I love that you have this zest for life and you're doing things that you want to.
Yeah.
And you're moving forward, you're sharing these tips, these stories, going around telling people it's okay, being that sense of, if I can do it,
so
can you.
I tell you, actually, it was 3 or 4 weeks ago where I met, do you know a guy, Billy Munger, that did the triathlon
Okay.
With he's no legs before the comic relief.
Oh gosh.
So he was doing the sit down scheme and I was up at him and so I spoke to him and chatted through and stuff. He was doing different documenting and things. But in terms of where he's at and with his mindset and speaking to him, it's exactly where you kind of need to be, in that he had a good realization of what he's pushed himself, obviously, but what he can and can't do.
Yeah.
And honestly, that makes such a difference to everyone in terms of what you can do going forward. Makes such a difference.
Do you feel your mindset changed from what it was before your diagnosis to after? Are you different, Andy, to before?
Yeah, it has a little bit. I mean, as I was alluded to before, I mean, I would kind of regard myself as sort of, I know, being lucky type thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of my mindset and how I would feel going forward, it's exasperated it. So it's just made it stronger in terms of how I would view things. You know, I'm quite fortunate being a kind of not lucky person, obviously, but kind of positive person. And I'm fortunate that my wife would be pretty much the same. And we try over the last however many years, I've tried to install that as well in our kids so that they view things the same way. So that when you do have bumps in the road or obstacles that you come across and stuff like that, it's not a case of, right, okay, I can't do this, I'm just going to give up. It's a case of, right, I want to get to the other side. So looking at ways to get, I know, round it, under it, over it, through it, stuff like that, yeah.
It's creativity, isn't it? And
it's just think different ways of doing stuff.
Yeah. And I love that because I feel we don't do that enough day to day, regardless of what challenges we're going through. Do we really see that kind of change in mindset? Do we think outside the box? People who are watching and listening, I'm looking at you right in the camera. When was the last time you've looked up, down, around, the side, under, over, and then given up or not? Because if Andy can do it, I think so can everybody else, right?
One of the I'd say this to everyone. One of the things I would say in talks to do would be, you know, this is easier sort of said than done. But if you put loads of time, loads of effort into something, and no matter what you do, the outcome doesn't change, then try not to worry about it.
Yeah.
I would be, I know, in control of the amount of rehab I do.
Yeah.
Which I know is hard, but doing it now and doing what's hard now will make it easier for me further down the line. And that can be said of every situation in life. So doing what is hard now will make things easier for you in the future.
I love that.
Don't take the easy option now to make your life more difficult further down the line. And this actually kind of in a bit of a sort of a tangent, but when I had the operation done in America and was doing the rehab afterwards, I stayed out there for about 4 or 5 weeks, where I was having my rehab. A lot of the kids were there. So it was in Children's Hospital in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And they'd had the same operation because the operation is kind of done. Most people that have cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
And so you had 4, 5, 6-year-olds that were just doing this rehab. And me being older, I could see they had to go through the pain to make it easier for myself further down the line.
Yeah.
All they could see, and I could see it with the physios, with their parents and stuff, was, crap, this is hurting. I don't want to do that. So they couldn't fathom, obviously, that it's going to get easier further down the line if they do that hard stuff now.
Yeah.
So that was quite a eye-opener for me in terms of seeing, right, do what is hard now to make things easier further down the line. And they, honestly, it was heartbreaking in a way to watch it.
It is, yeah. Have you met any others with the same condition and have your own support network to talk about kind of challenges unique to you? Because it's hard for people who have not experienced it to really comprehend, as I have mentioned in my introduction, what you might be going through. How can people then also, I'm asking two questions in one, support you when they meet you?
Yeah, well, in terms of the support and speaking to people that kind of have got this condition, I would chat a reasonable amount to the guy that had the operation out there before.
Yes, okay.
And kind of speak to him with markers in terms of where I'm getting to and what's happening. What I found, yes, you have certain markers, there's certain milestones you'll get to, but every journey is slightly different with this condition. It affects people slightly differently. Yeah. And one of the things, actually, I'm going next week to the consultant because my left leg, where you like hit below your kneecap, you've got the nerves there, and that your leg flicks up. It does that in my right leg. Okay. And it did it a year ago on my right and left leg. My left leg hasn't got any reactions now. So I'm going there next week to have, nerve tests and stuff like that. And this is one of the things that the guy I've spoke to before that had an operation hasn't been through. Okay. So this is where, the path is slightly different to what you can do. So, and again, it's sort of taking things as they come and seeing what happens with. I can actually feel it myself in my left knee that it will be more numb than my right one. Yeah.
Very nuanced path everyone's journey is, isn't it? And to the second half of my question, I'll try not to ask you 50 questions in one in the next questions. What can people do to support you when they meet you? Is there things people can do? There's a lot of stigma around like talking to people who we're not familiar with, how to react if we see you, all those kind of things. What I truly believe, because I'm talking a bit more here, is that we just treat you the way we treat anybody else. It should be no different. What's your take on that?
Yeah, exactly that, Rina, in terms of just treating how you would treat someone else. Yeah. What I've noticed a hell of a lot is that just because you're in a wheelchair, that people kind of assume you don't have your faculties. and that is frustrating sometimes.
I could understand.
But what I would say is that, and for people listening to this, is that when you see someone in a wheelchair, the best thing to do in terms of getting up curbs or getting the wheelchair into the car and stuff like that, is to ask and say, look, do you want any help? And that's a kind of way to go about it. What I've learned in the last, 5-6 years is that I would accept help a lot better. Whereas before, if someone said, right, do you need help? I'd be like, no, I'm okay, I'll be all right. And then 10 seconds later, I'm like, oh, shit, I should have asked for help there. I'm really struggling. So what I'm better at now is realizing actually when I do need help and when I don't. So when people, instead of just assuming that you would need help, if you just ask, that's the best way.
I love that. Just ask. Simple as that. Love it. Now, on to something a bit lighter. I've already asked you about onto the more fluffy questions about the sound, texture, and I was going to ask you about a soundtrack, but you kind of given me one already, and you've spoken about it a lot. So, do you have another soundtrack that is key for you?
Randomly, I would actually.
You do? Yeah. Okay, right. I better get my pen ready then.
You know the script.
The script, okay.
Yeah, the band. Yeah. Hall of Fame, that song.
Okay.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
We need to check that out.
So we'll listen to that as well when I do all the sort of rehab and stuff like that in the gym. Yeah.
What is something you've learned to do differently but better with your condition?
Probably being a dad in a way. So being present. I mean, going back and saying again, this is one of the things I would say to a lot of people is kind of being in the moment and whatever you're doing, giving it 100%. So kind of before all this happened and stuff, you'd be with your kids and doing things, or with friends, and you'd be thinking, right, I've got this to do, that to do.
Yeah.
And you're never really present.
Yeah. I
would actually say I'm a lot better at doing that now. So being there and being in the moment. Whereas, I mean, in the last however many years, I can't be as physical with my youngest, but I have been there in other ways to help and support them. I mean, it's frustrating in that, you know, through his younger years that I would want to go out and, you know, play a bit of cricket with him, rugby, hockey, whatever it is. And I couldn't do, but I had to kind of think of other ways that I could do that. So in terms of being someone that he would potentially look up to or take his morals and stuff from, not being strong physically and able to do that stuff, and this is like a big thing and stuff at the minute, but being strong more in terms of mentally and showing him as well. I mean, it's not, as I was saying to you before, it's not a weakness to show your emotions.
I agree.
And to cry and stuff like that. I would actually say it's a little bit more of a strength. And I've realized that actually it's not a bad thing to do it. And it kind of, doing the talks and stuff like that, kind of helped me last August when my father-in-law passed away. He passed away with Parkinson's, and I spoke at his funeral.
I see.
But I obviously got emotional, but I was able to get through and talk over that and talk through the emotions. So what I would say this to everyone is that, you know, let your emotions come out, but get to a position where you can actually talk through and speak through your emotions, so you're not suppressing things.
I love that. I really love everything, it sounds cliche, that you said. It's not about the physical strength, it's emotional strength, finding different ways around being present with your family and your children, and talking through your emotions. And I definitely believe that all the talks that you're doing around the country to people of all ages, because you're doing a lot of talks to school children, which I think is fantastic, Andy. What better place to instill this mindset of resilience than to the youngest of the youngest, the future? And I love that you're doing that to all ages as well. So it is truly remarkable to see that insight from you. I did
actually a webinar yesterday with a Ranley, an insurance company in Birmingham.
Oh, I love that.
But it's getting them to just see what they can and can't do, and having a sort of work-life balance, and not stressing the little things. It makes a big difference in terms of how you can view things, how you look at things. And that, I mean, I would say, I said before, I would say in my talk, and that, you know, everyone wants a happy life. Without sort of the skill of resilience in your life, you'll have sort of moments of happiness.
Of course.
With the skill of resilience, you'll have a more continuous, happy life.
Powerful stuff. Now, Andy, we're almost coming to an end now. It's gone so quickly. I do feel we could just talk and talk all day. It's really lovely to see you face to face. What's just a few more questions before we wrap up. What's something hilarious or unexpected that's happened along the way in your journey to life that's made you smile? Any key moments?
That would actually be in Port of Palencia when I was out on holiday with my family. It pissed down with rain when I was in the sea doing my exercise and stuff. And they all cleared off. The whole beach cleared off in the cafes and stuff like that, and left me in the sea. And I could see them over across the street. under the shelter having a coffee and stuff like that and waving over to me. And I was in the sea as it just bucketed down.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy.
I couldn't get up. It's like, okay.
So how long did you stay there for?
Probably about 20 minutes.
Oh, my God. Oh, that is just
so we felt like a prune when it came out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, God, Andy. Yeah. Oh, goodness me. I have so many more questions, but for another time on that. Andy, what's your hidden superpower? Something that HSP has unlocked in you that you didn't have before?
I would say it's not unlocked anything that it didn't have before.
Gotcha.
But I'd be more determined with things in terms of like what I kind of achieved and stuff before. You need a certain amount of determination to get there. What I'm achieving now or trying to get to now and trying to do now needs a lot of determination. I was actually asked, it was going a bit of a tangent here.
Yep.
On one of the talks I did at a sixth form in school, would I change what I've done, what I've achieved, not to have my condition, not to be in this wheelchair?
That's a brilliant question.
And you know what? I concluded I wouldn't, because I wouldn't have played professional sport. I wouldn't have met my wife, my kids. I wouldn't be here doing this now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be going out giving the talks and doing things and spreading this to a lot of people. And if I can change the mindset of one person with all the talks and stuff I do, to me, that makes a big difference going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely love that. It's true. This is what the Resilience Pod is all about. It's if you can impact just one person, I feel like I've done what I've set out to do. And I love that you have that same viewpoint as well. And it's definitely speaks volumes for what you're doing anyway. So really, Andy, thank you for being
genuinely enjoy doing it.
I love that. Yeah. I think also, and a reflection back to you, is talking about all this with people also helps you process the journey you've been on, and not many have the strength or the courage to talk about it openly and then share the things that keep them going. Because you're right, not everybody has good days, but we can, if you're feeling down, audience, then look to this episode and look to you as a prime example. I also feel that you're right. If you hadn't done all the things you're doing now, then we wouldn't be sat in front of each other. We probably wouldn't even, our paths probably would not have collided.
I mean, I come across sort of positive with things and the way I would look at things, but Renee, that's not to say, obviously, like you just said, you get down days.
Yeah, of course.
You do.
Yeah.
Everyone does, but it's how you respond to that, how you react to that. And I didn't do this for that reason, but I would do volunteering with the Samaritans and do, the phone calls and listen. And some of the things I've heard on that and people have talked to, I'm like, do you know what? My actually circumstances, my condition, stuff like that, situation isn't as bad as that person. As I say, I didn't do it for that reason.
Of course.
But it puts things into perspective a bit.
I agree. Yeah. And we can all take perspective regardless of our journey. Right, we have come to an end, unfortunately. So are there any final thoughts for those of you, those people who are watching us today or listening, that you would like to share?
I would say, I'll look in there, I would say that don't let setbacks determine your life. Succeed because of them, not in spite of them. Definitely.
Powerful stuff there. And where can people find you, Andy?
If anyone wants to find out any more, as I said earlier on, I would do I'm up to about, week 20 or so on each week of resilience for a year. That will be at Pato underscore par in Instagram. So that's PATTO underscore POWER. Excuse my accent. And then just if you search for me on LinkedIn, stuff like that, you'll
and we'll link everything. Yeah. And we do love a good Irish accent, so you're all right there.
the Irish centre, I was coming past here. You see it down there?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Hey, so we have a wild card question now. And I keep saying we're going to do final questions, but this is, I promise, the final question. We're doing something new on the Resilience Pod, where the guest previous that comes on the show at the end asks a question and then the next guest will answer. So they don't know that my last guest didn't know you were coming. So you're going to answer a question from my last guest and then we'll give you the opportunity to do the same. So as I wrap up, if you can write down in this notebook your question for the next guest. It can be anything to do with resilience or anything that you might be curious about to listen to from my next guest. And of course, you don't know who that is. So it just keeps it a bit more interesting and wild card. So, and are you ready for your wild card question? Yes, completely different to what we've been talking about, but this is from our first guest on the show, has asked, have you asked your loved ones about disinformation?
Yes, I have. And being a parent with 3 kids, I've talked to them and we would put things on their phones and stuff like that. They'll speak like that. So they can't use it after 8 o'clock in the evening and stuff. But what I've said to them and we would say to them is that don't take what's out there and you've searched and looked up or what you see, take it with a pinch of salt. Do your own research, do your own spade work, so to speak, in terms of whether that is true information or false information.
I love that. Thank you so much for answering that. Now I'm going to give you the opportunity as I wrap up to think about and write down the question for the next guest, challenging as you want, and have a think. Don't say it yet. I'm going to pass this to you. You write that down so we can keep it a secret. So what I will do is, there you go. There you go. So guys, as Andy writes down the secret question for the next guest, so don't worry. Yeah, perfect. We will wait for the next time to find out what the answer is. Now, guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, then by now you know what to do. So this is me, your host, Arena Singh, signing out with our fabulous guest, Andy Patto.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
I've loved it.
Thank you so much. Guys, until next time, keep on investing in your resilience.